Welcome to our first ever Unheard Journeys. This is kind of an idea that we came up with, me and Mike Bloomfield, my co-host here. We spend a lot of time out on the road hearing people's stories, just at dinner at the lobby bar. And, I was sitting there a couple weeks ago. There's a guy next to me. He owns a very successful MSP. I'm like, how'd you get started? He said, well, I was an opera singer. Sang in front of the Queen and two presidents, this guy.
It's crazy.
And he goes, I was doing IT on the side and then built it up, and now he's got a successful MSP. So I'm like, man, there's a million of these stories out here. So my name is Mike DePalma. I've been had a lot of different jobs. We'll get into that. But right now I'm VP of Business Development for a company called OpenText, kind of out on the road a lot. My co-host, Mike, I've known for just over a decade probably. So I'll let you introduce yourself and then we'll kick things off.
So Mike Bloomfield, President Geek of Techie Geek, a managed service provider based out of beautiful Staten Island, New York.
My favorite borough. I tell everybody.
Right? Hey, we just had some good pizza, right? You said it didn't live up to the New Haven.
Look, I'm from Connecticut. We're very snobby about our pizza, but it was very good pizza.
It was good.
Great sauce. Yeah.
Well, in March, I'm coming up to New Haven. I'll try the pizza. I'll let you know. I love a good pizza slice, so I'm all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, an opera singer, right? To think like...
Well, exactly. And there's a million of those stories.
Oh, yeah.
We talked before, off camera, we were talking about, I don't know anybody, especially in the IT space, that followed a linear journey to where they were at. Everybody, especially in the managed services space that we're in, everybody's got a weird way that they got here. It wasn't like you went to college saying, hey, I'm going to start a managed service company, right?
Well, most of us were in college. Managed service providers didn't even exist at that point.
Exactly.
Right.
So then we all kind of came here in all different ways, and we've kind of formed this community. For the folks that are in it, they know. But I want to start with you because you've got a really cool story. I met you. We were doing a lunch and learn here in Staten Island, probably a little over 10 years ago. And I believe at the time you were still working out of your house. You might have already had
100%.
And now we're in this beautiful studio here in Staten Island, 2-story building. So that's within the last 8-9 years you've made this journey. So I think I want to start with you, but before Techie Geek.
Yeah.
Where were you at? Were you coming out of college? Where were you at?
Well, we'll go back even further.
Okay, so, I want to know about little Mikey.
Little Mikey B, right? So I was in junior high school. I lived in Tottenville, and I went to a school known as IS-34 here in Staten Island. And I always wanted to make money. I always wanted to buy stuff. Now, to be completely honest, most of the money I wanted to buy was to buy food. Maybe I should have stopped making money early on. That would have helped me. But I noticed in the town that we lived in, Tottenville is like a little kind of like a townish, and there's these stores that there was dirt on the floor. But now in New York City, the business owner could actually be fined if there's dirt in front of their property. They're responsible, even though they don't own the sidewalk, you're responsible to keep the sidewalk clean.
Yeah.
So my dad made me a garbage pail that would hold a broom and the broom, whatever you call that thing where you broom into. It clipped on, and I went to a bunch of stores, and I got them to sign up for monthly service. Actually, it was weekly. I would collect money every week from them, and I would clean their stores 3 times a week. So before school, I would go to school. I would literally go, and I had about 15 customers who I would go up. I would roll my garbage pail and sweep the streets, buy my breakfast sandwich. One of my clients was, I think it was like Junior's Deli at the point.
Yeah.
Classic. And so I never realized, but I guess I had this entrepreneurial type concept back then, right? Like I knew I wanted to make money. I saw there was a problem, and I figured out there was a way to make money. Who the hell know?
Yeah.
And I did that for a while, and I would get made fun of because I would go to school, and like the kids going to school would see me with a garbage pail rolling by because it was literally right by outside our school.
Yeah.
Then from there, I went to work at a florist.
Okay.
Because I was responsible to sweep up. I guess apparently I was good with a broom. I was sweeping up the flowers because as the florist cuts the flowers, they make a mess.
Oh yeah.
My job was to go and get the flowers out. If they want the roses, give it, and then sweep the floor. And I did that for probably about a year. I actually got paid money.
This was when you were in high school at this point?
Junior high school.
Still junior?
Still junior high school. Then my brother went to work for that same florist, but he worked for Beanie Baby. So we're going back how much of what he was responsible to make their Beanie Baby display, and they would pay him in a Beanie Baby a week.
Those things were gold back then, though.
Well, he had the Princess Diana one, all those. But so I worked at this florist, and I always knew that you have to work to make money. And so going all the way back to junior high school. So then I went to college, and I got financial aid for freshman year, and I went to college, and I lost all of my student aid. Like what was they give you when you go in and you're actually smart in high school? They give you
Like a scholarship?
scholarships. There you go. Thank you. So I lost all my scholarships freshman year. I basically burned all through them because I was finally free and I was learning to play guitar. And my college roommate stopped going to class 2 weeks in and would tell me don't go to class, and it was bad. But I had to go to work. So my dad owned a bowling alley at the time. So I was the general manager and a head mechanic of a bowling alley. 16-lane bowling center in New Jersey. I would work about 60 hours a week while I was in college. I was both the general manager. I was running the leagues. I was fixing bowling machines. And I always loved working with my hands and, fixing machines. So after I finished college, my dad ended up selling the bowling alley, and I went to manage another bowling alley. And I realized I didn't like it, and I wanted to kind of get back into college. I originally was still studying. I'm sorry, I didn't end college when he sold the bowling alley. It was probably my junior year. And then I went to senior year. I got offered a job at American Traffic Solutions. Actually, it was called Mulvihill at the time. And I was told that I was going to be the first hire for a planned merger. Okay. So I went to work for a company, Mulvihill, here in Staten Island, New York, who had the New York City red light camera program. So everyone who hates red light cameras and speed cameras and all that, New York was one of the first cities in the United States to have it. And at that point, we had 50 cameras. So I went
to work. Did you have the exclusive contract? Like you guys
They had the exclusive contract for New York. And the company, American Traffic Solutions, was based in Scottsdale, Arizona. And they were starting, and they had other contracts, and they were acquiring Mulvihill. So I was hired as the first employee as the planned merger. Mm-hmm. When they merged about 3 months after I started, I was employee, I think it was number 32. When I left there, they were just under 900 employees within a few years. Yeah. So huge growth. And I started as a field technician. So I was the one installing cameras all throughout the country. I used to travel. And that's when, I'm sure we're going to talk about your travel and how it's that double-edged sword, right? It's fun to travel because you're seeing new cities, you're going to new restaurants, but it's also, you're not home. Now, at that point, I was 20 years old. I didn't have kids, right? So it was it was fun, but traveling gets old. So I didn't want to travel anymore. And we were installing these red light cameras all throughout the country, and I would literally have to get on an airplane, fly to California, get off the airplane, adjust the camera setting, go back to the airport, fly back. So 2 days of my time to literally be on site for 5 minutes. Yeah. But that was the only way you could adjust the camera. So I went to my boss. I said, if I come up with a way that I could adjust the settings and make changes remotely, can I have a job that I don't have to travel anymore? He goes, if you can figure that out, you can have whatever you want.
Yeah, save a ton of money.
So I worked with the engineers. All the sites had internet. So I worked with the engineer to come up with a way, and it was this great guy named Gary, and he's like, I don't understand how you want to do it because it had a physical switch. I said, isn't there a way you can monitor for a keystroke? Oh. So then I found this device that gave serial to IP. Like back then, now it's all Raspberry Pis. You didn't have this back then. So ended up about 2 months later, we had a way. I called my boss into my office. I said, watch this, camera's there. Yeah. He goes, what'd you just do? I go, magic. We added a rubber band with a servo that would actually change the zoom and the focus because it was an actual lens. Yeah. So we he's like, okay, you can do whatever you want. I said, great, we're going to manage these. So and the reason I get into this is at that point, I was managing about 600 red light cameras throughout the country. No different than computers. Yeah. Right? They were firmware updates, security, quality settings. I was managing devices, and then I built a team underneath me, and then I was in charge of putting together a training program. Then they offered to move me out to Arizona to the headquarters. I lived in Arizona for 3 years, and out there I managed product engineering. So I had 35 engineers who worked underneath me, who were developing all the red light cameras, speed cameras, bus cameras, all the stuff that everyone
And
hates.
you're in your early mid-20s at this
Early
point?
to mid-20s, yeah. Stupid, Wangenborger Corvette Z06 because I went out and I'm like test drove this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I was literally paying a mortgage for a car.
Yeah.
You know, stupid stuff. But I was, early 20s. And then I ended up getting engaged to my wife, who we had broken up at the time. She lived here in New York. She moved out to Arizona with me after we got engaged after a few-year break. And she was there for 6 months, and she looked at me and said, I hate it. I'm going back home. Are you coming with me? I said, I guess so. So we actually came out to New York for a visit. And when we landed, about a few hours later, I got a phone call from a business owner who I interned in between my senior year of high school and college. Where, do you ever remember, like at arcades, they used to be neoprints. You would go and take a picture and you would get a sticker, and it was like 30 stickers on one sheet, and it would be like with these characters. So in between high school and college, I interned for them, and it was a Japanese product, and it was all Japanese artwork. And the company told them there was no way to change the artwork. And he said, can you figure this out? And I basically hacked this whole program and designed a way for them to change the artwork, which allowed him to create and bring these photo booths into the United States.
Yep.
So I hung and talked to him for 4 or 5 years, and we met. And he tells me, hey, I'm looking to develop my own photo booth here, not buy from anyone else. We've been working on it, but I need someone to manage developers. You know anything about development? I said, yeah, I actually managed 35 engineers, and it all just worked out. And I left. We literally came to visit and left with him saying, all right, well, you're going to leave them, come work for me, come back. You could start in 2 months.
You didn't go out there for an interview.
No, we went to New York, I think, for the holidays. I think for
Yeah.
like Thanksgiving or Christmas, and he just texted me, and I hadn't talked to him in years.
Yeah.
I think my dad might have been pulling the strings behind the scenes because he did supply arcade machines to the bowling center my dad worked out.
Yeah.
So I think my dad might have texted him, hey, you should call my son, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know. He won't admit
He
to
missed
it.
you. He wanted you
missed
to come
me.
back.
So I ended up moving back, and I was the head of product engineering and director of IT for Apple Industries, which is the biggest photo booth manufacturer in the U.S. And we designed a product. And since I've left there, they are in all the amusement parks, all the Disney Worlds, Universal, all the big movie chains. So I managed the engineers who designed those products. Also was responsible for managing all these devices that people own and sending updates and content delivery and everything to them. So again, I went from managing red light cameras remotely to managing photo booths, which are PCs remotely.
Yeah.
So I've apparently always had this MSP concept in my head without even realizing it. Loved working for them. I had a great team. I was commuting 2.5 hours each way
Into Jersey?
to Long Island.
Oh, boy.
So anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I would leave my house at 4:30, could get to work like 6:30. And then I would leave around 3 and get home like 5:36. So it was, after doing that for a number of years, I decided, I wanted to do something. I wanted to work for myself. You see, business owners tend to be very successful, and I decided it was time. So I actually went to him, told him I had employees that wanted raises, but he didn't want to give them the money. But he was like, I want to give you a raise. So I'm going to tell you what, don't give me the raise. Give the raise to them. Give me 2 days a week to work from home, but no, I'm growing a business and I want to start something. So just give me a little leeway. And that's how, instead of you giving me the raise, you're going to keep them happy and I'll make money differently.
Yeah.
And he said, no problem, do what you got to do. So he allowed me,
Good for him.
and it helped me though, because I was able to start and grow my business while I still had a paycheck coming in. So it definitely took some of the risk away, but starting in originally starting in the bedroom on the second floor of our house, not even the apartment. We had an intern one year when she would literally come into the house and then come up into this, the bedroom upstairs. And that was like our office. And my wife and me and my mother-in-law at the time worked in there. And then we went to the basement. So this was about 2013. We started Techie Geek. Then we moved into, we had the basement. And I figured, hey, let me call the local paper here, the Advance. They have this new business spotlight. Because I I learned from Alan, who was my boss at Apple Industries. I guess I always like joke around, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And, go ahead and fake it, and you have to tell a story. It's branding, it's advertising. If people believe it, and you'll actually can make it happen. If you build it, they will come.
Yep.
So I saw they had this local paper, and and they had this article, New Business Spotlight. So they came, they did an article. Me and my wife are spreading in the apartment.
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the best part is the photographer goes, "Hey, all right, go in and grab some files from." It's not a file cabinet; it's a dresser in the spare room. And I'm like, "That's my underwear drawer." He's like, "Oh, all right, no, I'm gonna take picture, but open up, put your hand." So literally, like the picture of me grabbing what you're supposed to be grabbing, a file or something, is I think I was holding my underwear in the drawer, but. And we started there, and I was by myself. About a year in, I realized I needed an employee, that I can't do this for myself. So I hired a technician first, and then here we are, 12, 13 years later, we're about 17, 18 people. We moved up, went from the apartment, bedroom, another apartment, to first floor here, and now we're in 2 floors here with the goal. I'm going to take the whole thing. A team of 17, 18 right now, numerous awards. Thankfully we really work hard, and big thing that we do is clients, culture, community. Those are our core values.
Yeah.
And but whoever thought I would get there from all of that.
Yeah, well, exactly. So when you were starting out, was it a managed services practice? Were you working with small businesses right away? Or were you doing break fix?
Right away.
How were you getting the business?
I was doing side work for other businesses while I was working in IT. And I was like, and I didn't even know what a managed service provider was until I started going to conferences. But I knew that I'd be like, hey, I'll give you unlimited support and I'll manage this, but you're going to tell me this every month because I want to be able to budget.
Yeah, of course.
And so I had about 2 or 3 clients that had, that I was doing on the side before it was even really techie geek.
Yeah.
And that was what we figured out. I figured out that I wanted to do. And so we were pretty much managed services from the beginning. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Was what we were doing.
Yeah.
And then I think it was conferences where then people was talking about MSP and this and that and getting out of break fix and this. And I was like, wow, I figured this out without even realizing. And this is a whole infancy stage of this, industry.
I always think, and like I said, I've known you for a long time. And one of the things that makes you unique is your go-to-market strategy or your business strategy in general is relationships, over the top, so it's branding, but, you're a member of multiple nonprofits. You do work with the chamber. You do a lot of those things. You also, on the other side, develop strong relationships with your vendors, which a lot of people don't, right? So, and it's like, why do I need to give back? But you've always been very giving if I needed a favor from you. And I think that is the culture you've created. Now, was that, you mentioned your former boss kind of talked about branding, but is that something that you said, hey, this is how I could differentiate myself by being that kind of feel good company?
Yeah, I think watching him, and he was very big into industry magazines and very big into all that. And just look, he ran a very successful business. He started as, he did arcade machines through New York City. That he ran a route, and then from there grew this amazing business. So there was definitely things I learned from him that I wanted to do, and I'll be the first to tell him there were things I learned that I did not want to do, and how I didn't want to treat people. But I got some of that. But being from Staten Island, though, it's very community based, very relationship based, and yes, always with my clients, very community based. But why would I not want to be with my vendors? I don't consider them if they're just a vendor, then I'm just a number. Yeah. And if I'm just a number, when I have a problem or I need something, I'm just a number.
Get in the queue. Yeah.
But if I build a relationship, right? How many times we've built a relationship, and that's just because, we met, we had a great time. You were, I love talking to you. We became friends. But I'm building a relationship. When I needed something, I'm able to go and call you. When I said, hey, I want to mail potatoes to 100 businesses, and I want Dago to pay for it and give me $3,000 so I could do this. You went crazy, but okay.
I wouldn't have approved it for very many people,
right?
But I said I trust this guy because I know, I've done some stuff. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think you're exactly right. I think it is like sometimes it does like, well, I'm going the extra mile for what? Like, why am I doing this? But it tends to, not to get philosophical, it tends to come back around. Like at
Right.
some point, you develop that relationship, and it's going to help.
People want to do work with people they break bread with. Currently I sit on 6 nonprofit boards.
Yeah,
I want to give back to those nonprofits. But at the same time, I'm sitting at a table with 20 other business owners who are all saying, and then as they get to know you, organically, they're going to want to work with
exactly.
you. So it's all about building relationships. One of the things I did fail to mention about my journey, I am a college dropout. So, people say, you have to go to college. The one thing I will say that I love about IT and technology, I don't think you need to go to college. I went for a number of years. I messed around for most of them. I was undiagnosed, but I definitely have severe ADHD, and anyone that works here will tell you that is 100% true. Julia, the producer over there, was going,
Yeah.
Yep. And I would go to college, and I would literally bring a magazine with me, a pillow. I would sleep during class. I'd read, because in high school, you're going to have to study. Like I had like a 98, 99 average in a technical school here on the Stown Tech. I never studied a day in my life.
Yeah.
But then you get to college and you think it's going to be like that. And I would literally bring car magazines. I was into like Euro Tuner and I'd be reading car magazine. And then I was in a thermodynamics class. And I remember sitting there and then a test comes out and I go, what is this? like,
I don't know any of it.
what are we doing here? And I was like, oh my God. And I switched majors a few times. That made me lose credits. Like I originally went to New Jersey Institute of Technology and I was supposed to be a computer science. I wanted to be a developer.
Yep.
So, and that's another crazy thing. I was asked, you ever hear the game Counter-Strike? It's a Half-Life is a first-person shooter. Counter-Strike was a famous mod for it that then became its own game.
Mm-hmm.
I was programming Half-Life mods at that point. I had taught myself how to program. And the head of Counter-Strike was creating his first mod. The first version that was big was 1.6. This was before that. He asked me to work with him and to be a developer, but I was creating my own mod. And I was like, no, I'm working on my own mod. It was a gangster mod.
Yeah.
Never released, never. And then Counter-Strike came out and it was like this famous thing, right? But I had taught myself to program and I wanted to be a programmer. So when I went to college for computer science, we were at orientation and we're there. And they are asking in the orientation for everyone, who here is for electrical engineering? And a bunch of hands go up. Who's here for computer science? And I literally saw 90% of the hands went up. Who's here for computer engineering? I saw like 8 hands go up. I'm like, yeah, I'm changing majors. I don't need all this competition.
Yeah, right.
I was like, well, I got to compete with them. I'm going to that major where there's 8 people over there.
Yeah.
So I switched to computer engineering and that's what I was going to do. And then when I lost my scholarships and funding, I was working. Then I tried to go to the College of Staten Island. When you transfer, you lose this credit and that credit.
Yeah.
So then I switched to electrical engineering because I was doing the red light cameras at that point. So it was more electrical, I figured, than computers. But I think I just decided it wasn't for me. Yeah. But if any college out there wants to give me an honorary degree, I'll take it.
I'll put it right up on the wall.
I'll put it right on the wall. We'll put it right here behind me.
Yeah. No, it is. It's one of those industries. You see a lot of very successful people that, your degree might get you the first job and then nobody cares about it.
Right. I don't. The only time my not having a degree held me back was when I was at American Traffic Solution, when I was working my way through the ranks and I was managing engineering. And they were doing all government RFPs. So the governments are asking cities for red light cameras and it's a full RFP process. They brought a scientist in, even though I was the one doing all the work for him. And I said to my boss at the point, I said, why did you bring him in? If I'm doing everything, why don't you just have me do it? Give me the title, give me the money, because you don't have a degree. And they do the RFP, they put in there the executives, and he's a PhD, and he's this and this and that. He goes, you don't have that. So even though you're the one coming up with everything, managing, we need the name.
Yeah.
And that was the only time it held me back.
Yeah. Luckily, I think that all the industries are kind of going away from that. I think it's more talent than, the sheet of paper they're looking for.
Right. He was not that smart. He might have had PhD and all these paperwork. And I just remember I wanted to like be like, how do you not understand this? Like, aren't you a doctor of what we're doing? Come on.
Oh, I know.
No, it's crazy. But yeah, and if you look at, so one of the questions we spoke about always asking is, what did I want to be when I was growing up? First college, right? So originally what I wanted to be when I was growing up as a kid, I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Okay.
Like that was like, to me, so I had two jobs. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Then I found out I couldn't do that because I don't have 20/20 vision. And even if you have corrective vision, they don't allow you to be. So then I wanted to be a scientist that studies level 4 viruses like Ebola and all these crazy. Now keep in mind, now I'm a hypochondriac. Thank God I can't do that.
Yeah, buddy.
But like I wanted to be like, it was around the time the movie Outbreak came out. I was just gonna say,
it sounds like you just your career goals followed like movies that came
out.
It
was
comes out,
it was Outbreak, which was based off a Michael Crichton book called The Hot Zone, I think was the name of the book. And I remember reading that book and being like, this is so cool. And that was really like my two things I wanted to do. And then when I got to college, I originally wanted to be a computer programmer, but that quickly changed.
Yeah.
So
now you're here.
But I still do computers.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go.
You still got one of the best IT companies on Staten Island. So.
Well, not just on Staten Island.
I mean,
one of the best. We ranked number 48 globally.
Globally. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Go Google me. That's what I say. Go Google Techie Geeks.
Yeah, go Google Mike Bloomfield because you won't get me. You'll get the famous guitarist.
Oh, yeah?
Who's a blues guitarist. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I came from.
Yeah.
Where'd you come from?
So, so I grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut. So it's down right on the New York border almost, And I grew up playing sports. And, I got to high school. Really, my college choices were based on where I can go play baseball. So I had, some scholarship offers, Bryant College. I had, Miami of Ohio, a couple of schools in Connecticut. And I went and played in a tournament between my junior and senior year out in Baltimore. It was like we played at the Maryland State All-Stars. This was American Legion ball. And then a couple weeks later, I get a letter from Johns Hopkins University, right? So far better than any of the other schools. And my brother was the first one to go to college on either side of my family. I always say I'm the first one that did it in actually 4 years. But so he was a little bit older than me. But so like college wasn't one of those things that was like kind of forced upon me. And I didn't know anything. I just knew like all of a sudden my father sees this letter. It's like, you're going to Johns Hopkins just because of the name. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I didn't really know I mean, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I was a kid, it was center fielder for the Mets, right? That was my goal. So I get to college. Yeah, I know. Mets, Jets, and Nets. So I suffer. So then I get to college and I'm like, oh, what can I really do, right? So and Johns Hopkins, obviously a lot of medical focus. I wasn't doing that. So I became a political science major because I thought I was gonna be a lawyer. I'm like, all right, I could be a lawyer. I love arguing with people. I could talk and all this stuff. I think it would be great. But then you get to junior year, and everybody's taking the LSATs, and you start doing the math. Like I'm not getting a scholarship to go to law school, and I'm like you. Like I got good grades in college, but I wasn't like a student, like somebody that really loved to study. So I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I get out of college, and I'm like applying to some places, but it was just like throwing darts. Like it was no industry or anything like that. And then I wind up taking a job for New York Life as an agent, just an insurance agent. I'm like, oh, this will be easy. You know what I mean? I can go talk to people. But you remember, this is 2002. I'm 22. I look like I was about 15. I couldn't even grow facial hair. And this is before cell phones. Like you're calling people in their kitchens, right? Trying to sell them whole life. The company you keep, So, it was a grind. You would have to buy, it was all commissions, and you had to buy your own lists. So you're out of pocket before the month starts, and you're literally just calling people, sending postcards. You go into the office, but it's like your own business you're running. And I did that for about 8 months. And it was tough. I was my now wife. We've been dating since high school, so almost right out of college, we got an apartment together. And so I had rent, and I'm like, I need a steady paycheck, So I happened to go into the bank all the time. I knew the tellers, I knew the manager. They were just from going in there. And one day she was like, "Oh, I never asked what you do." And I said, "This is what I do. I have my Series 6 and 63 licenses." She's like, "You should come work here." That's a financial specialist. You could do home equity loans. We did Pels. We did. And investments like mutual funds. I just had a 663. So I'm like, all right. So now I'm 23 years old. I didn't want to sit there and do cold calling all the time. And so moved over and took this steady job, right? So it was steady. It was nice. You know what I mean? You had a lot of calls, but you're calling existing customers. Right. They're not hanging up on you, But then, I get to be 24 years old. And that's, when you're in your 20s, all of a sudden you get like political, right? So now I'm sitting there, and this is now we're at war with Iraq, and and so I go see this guy's running for governor of Connecticut. His name is John DeStefano, and I get to meet him. He was a small place. He was in Norwalk, and I meet his campaign manager, and I was like, I kind of want to come work for you. And they were like, yeah. And it doesn't pay a lot. I'm like, I know, but at this point, like, this is what this would be exciting. So I go and work for it was like the finance team, right? Like fundraising and all that. And I become his finance director like in 6 months. So now I'm traveling the state. Like I learned more than anything else. I'm going with this guy.
Running for governor?
He's running for governor. He's running against Jody Rell. We wound up losing, but we actually primaried Dan Malloy. We beat him. And for me, he was such a good mentor, this guy. He couldn't have been he's also a Met fan, so we bonded over that. But I got to travel the state with him, meeting all these people, learning how to talk to wealthy people. Like, you're going in, and this is Connecticut. There's some billionaires there that you're asking them to raise money for you. And I'm young, but I'm getting in those things. I actually, my claim to fame during all this, Jesse Jackson was in Bridgeport, and we were like, we need to get him to raise some money from his PAC. So the governor was going to go, governor, nominee and mayor of New Haven was going to go down. They just send DePalma. I go into this church in Bridgeport, go down in the basement. It's just me sitting across from a table from Jesse Jackson, and I'm asking him for money, right? So, and he raised money for us. It was fine, but it was like that type of thing. So then I come out of that like, I could talk to anybody. But one of the things, New Haven at the time was rebuilding every school, 48 schools in New Haven. It's a $1.5 billion project. And I got to know all the builders there. They were obviously donating, and just how politics works, above board, but whatever. So I got to know all of them. And then this company, Gilbane, was the program manager for all of that. And they offered me a job after we lost, as what I essentially was the liaison between the city and the company. So we had this big project. I would go present in front of the Board of Aldermans every week about status and all of that. And I loved it. Gilbane was an amazing company. I was there 10 years, commuting up to New Haven. We had an office right in the Board of Ed. In that time, I married my now wife. We have our first kid in 2011. And in 2013, we knew like she was just, very healthy baby and everything. But she never really was like responding, but it was our first kid. We didn't know. She passed her newborn hearing screening. So we go at the 1 year checkup, and we're like, I don't know. She doesn't react to sounds and stuff. And the doctor's like, all right, we'll do it. And they do the thing where they just bounce it off your eardrum. And they're like, no, she passed. So then another couple months go by, and we said, we're going to go get another opinion on this. We bring her up to Yale. They do a study. They're like, yeah, we're not getting any readings from this. You should go, come back, and we'll do one where we put like probes and, when she's sleeping and make noise, and nothing. So we find out that she's completely deaf. Her threshold was at the jet engine, right? So, now we're like scrambling around. We don't know anything about this. I didn't know cochlear implants even existed, right? But we start doing the research on it. We find out that she's eligible for cochlear implants. It's a, procedure where actually it bypasses the cochlea and people could hear. People have seen those videos. So she gets the surgery. I continue working at Gilbane, but she had to go to a special school up in Hartford. And if you don't know Connecticut, Hartford's like an hour and a half from me. So now my commute every single morning was to drive up to Hartford, drop her off, and then drive down to New Haven, which is about 40 minutes. So my commute to New Haven was about 2 hours every day, a little over 2 hours. And my boss was super cool, but I'm getting in at like 9 o'clock. You know what I mean?
And then you got to leave early to go pick her up.
Yeah. Well, she could get a van back, so it was either way. Like she was in the morning, it would be very difficult to put a 3-year-old on a bus, and like what I mean? On the way back, she would sleep or whatever. So I'm doing this for now probably 6 or 7 months, and this company Datto now is growing, and it's a mile from my house. And I got a bunch of buddies that are going over there. They're hiring like crazy. It's got the hockey stick growth. And a buddy of mine who's actually it was the best man at my wedding. He's godfather of my kids. He's over there, and he's like, Mike, you got to come here. They got an opening on the West Coast team, so now you could work from 11 to 8. And I said, I don't know anything about technology, really. I mean, I through construction, the basics, but so I go and I interview. I'm Googling what an MSP is. So Datto is a backup company that's sold through the MSP channel. And somehow I get this job, right? So now it's perfect. So now I drive my daughter up. I come in. I usually got in at like 10 o'clock, and it was perfect. And I'd work till 8. And so literally the only reason I made this shift was because of that. I would have been happy. I would have still been at Gilbane. It was a great company. And so now I'm in this role. I'd been in sales because in Gilbane, I also moved to like a business development role. So I would go out. The last school we sold was like a $50 million middle school in North Haven. So I did that. So I still kept sales in me. So now I get in there and I'm doing, I have an account, 80 businesses, 80, and And I go out on the road one time. I had gotten the most sales or whatever. So they bring me to this event and I meet this guy, Rob Ray, who was our VP of business development. And I see him up on stage and he carries a crowd. Like, he's such a good presenter. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Right. And so I just kind of buddied up with Rob and I went to another event with him. I was like, hey, have you ever had anything that pops open? Like, I'd really be interested. He's like, I really can't poach from the sales team. But if you approach your manager and say that you're looking to, we are actually going to open up a spot. So
telling you how to skirt the system.
Yeah. So I can't poach you. So I had to go to my manager. He's like, oh, you're making the worst decision. What are you doing? I go to his manager and I have to get his approval. And he said the same thing. He's like, Mike, come on, you can make all this money and a safe job. You're going to take a big risk going out there. And I was like, I just knew I couldn't sit behind a desk and just call people. This is before even video conference. You're just on the phone on your headset. So that was it. So then within a year, I joined Rob Ray's team and started traveling. At that point, I probably hadn't been to more than 7 or 8 states. Like I didn't grow up traveling, and then you start going and now I've checked off 41 states and it just there kind of rose the ranks. And I worked for Rob and then we got acquired by a company called Kaseya and Rob moved on and I wound up moving up and was our channel chief. So I oversaw business development globally for this 5,000 person company. And we did that for a couple of years. And then just recently in March of this year, 2025, I moved over to a company called OpenText. And it was actually the old SVP of sales from Datto is now over at OpenText. And again, just keeping that relationship open, got the job offer and I've been doing the same thing. Now OpenText we have about 22,000 employees, we do about $6 billion of revenue a year. So
it's crazy because we had this conversation when we were coming up with the plan for the podcast. And I knew you went to OpenText, and I'm like, I would think of OpenText as like a tiny, company. But now what you just said is Kaseya is 5,000 employees, OpenText is 22,000. I think there's so many businesses out there don't realize OpenText who they actually own.
Yeah, exactly. So same thing when he came to me and was like, hey, we want to build out a business development team at OpenText. I was like, you think I'm going to leave Kaseya to go to OpenText? Because OpenText basically has grown through acquisition. And it's also a very big enterprise company. So our cybersecurity arm, this channel arm that I run, it makes about 1/10 of the overall revenue. Still a lot of revenue when we're doing, $6 billion. But, we own a lot of companies that people know. Carbonite, Webroot, if you're in the tech industry, Zix, Cloud Ally, Pillar. And so my job was really just to rebrand everything and say, oh, this is actually a platform as opposed to these individual business units. And it's been tough, but we've been making a lot of progress on it. So it was just a fun challenge to be like, all right, it's almost like working for a startup. Because like you've been in the industry for how long? You didn't know.
I had no
until
clue.
We started working. And that's
if you asked me OpenText, I would have thought they did something with texting.
Yeah.
Right. I thought it was like alerting text, like for technicians, like that emergency or something like that.
So the reason, you probably don't even know where OpenText got its name. So this company started in like 89 or 90. And it started as a company that digitized the dictionary and put it on CD-ROMs.
Okay.
That's how it started. Now it's now we do a lot of enterprise documentation tools and security, a lot of AI stuff. So yeah, it's been crazy.
And I'm still not a customer yet.
Exactly. That shows relationships. Mike didn't even know what we did. Now he knows we did. He still doesn't work for us. I mean, I'm not very good at my job. That's why I'm starting this podcast. I really hope this thing takes off.
Is that the goal? Is this this is the long haul to get me?
I got to start a podcast with this guy.
I knew it was something.
This is something. So yeah, I mean, I would never thought, I was one of the least technical people, but the role that I'm in, it is all about relationships. And I love presenting on stage. I've been able to do it in some big venues. So it's super exciting for me.
Yeah. And even seeing you over the years, you're always great on stage, but let's go back. So your first AgroCon was,
Nashville, 2016.
Now, was that the one where it was the whole big thing was they brought the baking back? Or was that the year?
The bacon came back.
Yes.
Right,
yeah.
So this is, So in New Orleans the year before, I was a sales rep. I didn't go, but they bought turkey bacon was the thing. And we would get responses and they'd be like, 9 out of 10. I would have given you a 10 if you had real bacon. And it was multiple people. So my boss was like, we're going to make a big stink about it. So we actually had swag that were like little squishy bacon things. They were Datto branded and then everything.
There was a baking sponsor.
Yes, there was a bacon sponsor. There was like a bacon wall at one point. So it was like
Rob's opening like speech, right? Because he would introduce Austin and like it was we got baking. It was like every
nuts.
and then during lunch, like he'd be like, all right, we're gonna take a lunch break. We got real bacon this
I was
year.
baking all 3 meals.
I'm like
everything.
I just remember being like, what is going on?
Yeah, if you don't know,
Are these people this much in the baking here? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what's the theme here? But yeah, that was just.
But yeah, seeing you work your way through and, being underneath Rob. And then what was it? I think when you were really the MC of DaggleCon, was that Washington, D.C.?
DC, yeah.
Right. And you were on stage. You basically were Rob. You were now the ones introducing everyone in the face. I got to take pictures of you and animate them. And
yeah, that's right. I'm ready to go on stage. There's probably 3,000 people, right?
Yeah.
And during the thing, it's just got our headshots up there. And Mike sends me this video 30 seconds before I go up, and it's like me dancing. It's
and
like
singing.
I'm sexy.
Yang, I know it.
Yeah, so I'm laughing as I'm walking up on stage. But yeah, I mean, that was like the goal. I go to these DaggleCons, and Rob is the MC, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. And then eventually he'd let me get up on stage a couple times. And then that last one, because he was leaving and we were transitioning, we kind of co-MC'd it, the first piece, and then I got to do it. It was one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do. Present in front of 3,000-4,000 people like that. So that was like one of those milestones of like, all right, I kind of made it now. Like now I felt like I was part of that community, that channel community,
Yeah, and seeing you over the years, and then you made this jump, which was a great jump. I know you had offers from other, and even going back, and you made the right choice.
Yeah, I in the tech industry, and I'm sure it'll come up a lot on some of the interviews we do. I mean, it is one of those things where there's so many new vendors that pop up, and if you catch on to the right one, if you caught on to Datto when you were employee 10, you're set up for life, right? But for every one Datto, there's 20 other ones, right? So I was getting a lot of offers throughout, especially after the acquisition. They thought everybody was going to leave. And I just had this thing, and I need stability. I didn't want to move because we need, I got family support. My mother lives up the road. My in-laws are down the road. So you always have support when I know I'm traveling. And so I said to the guy, Brian, who's now my boss, I just want a retirement job. I'm 45. Like I don't want to have that resume where I'm at 17 different places. Now, those tend to be the people that make a ton of money, but I can't live like that. Like I was at Kaseya for 10 years. I want to be here for the next 15, 20. And
you want stability.
Yeah. And this was and then that's when more I learned about it. We were publicly traded. It's very steady. They're talking about like, you coming in, we have like a 12 to 18 month plan. I've never worked for a company where there wasn't like, hey, you got to show results tomorrow,
Right.
And so we're ahead of the game on that, but it's been just refreshing to have this, like, I have so much autonomy to go do things and take a day off and come do a podcast.
Now, but are you traveling a lot?
Yeah, I'm still building on my team. So I probably traveled a little bit more this year than I have in the last couple with my role at Kaseya. But it feels good. I kind of got, as you moved up at Kaseya, you became, more corporate. So I was in the office a lot more. I didn't go out and do a lot of events, right? Because I'm managing a pretty large team, and it's, now you're getting into numbers and all this stuff, budgets. The boring stuff. It literally was like nails across the chalkboard for me, Mike. I had when I was going through like my exit, I had 22 hours of set phone calls a week. Like,
right.
To start my week, I knew I was on 22 hours of meetings. Imagine that. And so I really couldn't travel. So it was refreshing. Now I come out there and it's friends like you and people I've met. They're like, you're back out here, And so it's been me doing those presentations.
It's the double-edged sword, though, right? Because now you're leaving your family for the couple of days and not missing the games and this and that and everything. It's tough.
That is the hard. And now my kids have known it basically their whole lives, right? Especially my little one. So it was tough. But and it was tough with my wife. It's tough to be home alone. And so I was always that guy who I would fly in as late as I could and fly out as early as possible.
Just so you could get a couple of extra hours.
Exactly. Even if it was just so I could pick my kid up from school. And the beauty of this job is when you're not traveling, you do have a ton of flexibility. So if I'm home, I'm driving my kids to school still every day. I drive my kid to school, every morning if I'm home. So it was kind of like that trade-off. Like, I need to do this to make, support the family. And the good side is like, I'll be home. When I'm home, I'm very present. But it's tough when you travel. And that's why I could never move, because if I didn't have the support of like my family and my in-laws, there's no way I could, I can go down to South Carolina and get this big house and pool and all that. And then I'm in South Carolina, but not knowing anybody,
with
hiring somebody, to take care of my kids.
Well, I look at those, you get those Instagram posts with like what could you get for 600 grand in Texas? So you look at this, you're like,
to the state. Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, no, I like it here.
Not up there.
I don't need. Who needs a backyard?
Yeah, yeah. We're good. Yeah. So, yeah. So, like I said, I wouldn't have thought I would have been in this spot by any means, but it's like the perfect job for what I like to do. You know what I mean? And we talk about like college degrees. Like it's cool, to get a degree from Johns Hopkins. But people are. It's funny because I don't know. It's maybe the way I carry myself or dress or whatever, but I get a lot of people that are like, "You went to Johns Hopkins?" I had this one guy say, "Where'd you go to school?" I said, "I went to Johns Hopkins." He goes, "You don't strike me as somebody smart enough to go to Johns Hopkins."
Really?
A guy that worked at Datto.
Oh
He had a couple old fashions in him. He was the nicest guy. He was all apologetic. But he said at the bar, people were around. I'm like, wow, I don't know how to take that, Dave. But sure.
So, all right, your dream was center fielder for the Mets.
Yeah.
We're at open text, but you guys sound like you have enough money. Maybe they could sponsor the Mets and let you play one game
That's
or
what
one
I'm
game.
saying. Some old timers game, bring me in. You know what I mean? I could probably.
We gotta get your dream come true once.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say one other part of my journey. So I get out of college. We had played a baseball in college down in Italy. We played all the Italian professional teams, which we beat all of them. They weren't very good. But I get an email from a guy right after I graduate saying it's from the Godo Dragons. Godo's a little town in northern Italy. We'd like to sign you to come play. And they only in the league you only get 2 foreign-born player exemptions because Americans would just come in and take over, right? And they said, well, our center fielder's a Cuban guy. Can you get citizenship? Now my grandfather was from Italy, so I'm like, this is amazing. So I kind of go through he died when my dad was young. We find the death certificate. It says unknown Italy, right? He came over in the 20s, right? So unknown Italy. So we're fine. And I worked with a guy in the consulate, and we just couldn't find his best birth certificate. So I never got my citizenship.
So if you would have been playing baseball.
So I get this job at the bank in an apartment. 2 months later, the guy emails me, our center fielder blew out his ACL. We want to use our foreign-born player on you. The offer was $2,500 a month, and I got a job at this guy's restaurant, like bussing tables. This is professional baseball in Italy, right? So I'm going to make $2,500. I'm like, I don't even know if I have enough money to send back. My wife, it was $1,000 a month was our rent, but it was like, do I just leave my wife? And I didn't do it. And so part of it is like, I kind of regret it, but also wouldn't be here if
I don't really think the farm system goes from Italy to the
You're
Mets.
going nowhere. It's just this. I mean, it would have been a crazy life.
You were
just play in Italy and you work at a restaurant. You know what I mean? So it was just a wild thing.
You're a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
But you would play, and you also have to bust my tables at my restaurant.
Yeah, because I'm not going to speak. I don't speak Italian. So but I had a buddy that did play years later, and I was like, "Do you know the Godo Dragons?" He was like, "Oh," and he said the guy's name is Christian Mura. He goes, "Oh, he's crazy." The owner. He's like, he was the guy that emailed me. He's crazy. He's like, it would have been fun to play for him, but they're the worst team in the league, and he gets people just to work at his restaurant.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we both have. Now people have heard our journeys. Right?
Yeah.
So this is going to be a fun podcast.
I can't wait.
We're going to interview. We want to hear people. So if there is anyone out there who wants to tell your story, and you don't have to be in the MSP space channel, if you are a business owner, an executive, anything, we want to, and you want to tell the story of how you got to where you are and how it deviated. We're going to have a form on this that you'll be able to fill out. And we want to hear your story.
Yeah, I love having these conversations. My favorite part of being on the road is having dinner. It's never that linear path. Lawyers, doctors, maybe, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
Right.
But when you get into like the entrepreneurial space, especially the tech space, man, there's a million different ways to get into this seat. And so I can't wait to get more people on here.
And we love you. If you're local to the New York area, we love to have you here, but we will also be bringing in guests virtually. Yeah. So, me and Mike will be here, but we'll bring you in virtually. So we are able to do this on Zoom for people who can't be here.
Yeah.
And looking at that linear path, I would be willing to bet, and we should probably do some polls on our website when we get that launched and everything. I would guess women more when they say what they want when they're young have more of a percentage that actually ends up, right? Yeah. Because think of like my daughter. She's telling me all the time, I want to be a teacher. I really believe she'll be a teacher, right? Yeah. But like I feel like in a lot of times, like a lot of women, girls do, men, we're all crazy, right? You talk to men, I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I wanna be a
You don't
senator
talk
of
to,
the
you don't really, most women, you don't talk to like a young girl. What do you want to
No.
be? An astronaut.
I
They're like,
never thought about it because my wife got into digital advertising and has been in digital advertising ever since for 25 years.
Her
You know what I
whole-
mean? And you're right. But me, if you would ask, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I never, because I never had that person, a guidance counselor. Like my dad was like, just, you got a degree, go get a job. He just didn't know that like corporate life. My dad he was like, did carpentry work and stuff. So, it was just, I didn't know. I just kept making relationships and you find the right path,
The only thing I knew for certain is I did not want to wear a suit and carry a briefcase.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I knew. And it's funny because my dad tells me when I was a little kid, I used to tell him I want to wear a suit to work. I don't remember that, but I say that Mike was an idiot.
Yeah.
I want to wear a t-shirt. Well, I've upped it. Now I've been wearing these button downs.
I know you're making me look bad with my t-shirt on, but I think this might be our uniform for this podcast.
Yeah, right. It's going to be our uniform. We're going to wear the same shirt every episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to remember. I'm going to tag this.
It's going to say, Unheard Journeys.
All right. Awesome. Well, I think this was, I loved hearing your story.
Yeah, I loved hearing your story.
We're going to start releasing these probably once every 2 weeks is our goal. Obviously, with your travel schedule, we might miss here and there. But, I'm excited for this to start. And I'm thankful that you asked me to do this and be a part of this with you.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be good. I'm excited.
And now a segue to our sponsor. No.
Someday. It'll be soon. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Oh, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.